What's going on, guys? We are back with another episode of the Scale Labs RC podcast. And today I have the world famous, some may even consider the world infamous, if you will, Matt, the Murf Dog Murphy. What's going on, man? How are you?
Not much, man. Just kicking back at home. Um, a beautiful day. My Dodgers just won the ball game. We just swept the Washington Nationals, and everything's good.
Perfect. Everything's round in the world today, huh?
Yes, sir.
Beautiful. You got a Scott Bloomquist shirt on, so I know I can trust you. I know where everything's right in the world, and we're all good, man. We call Mooresville, North Carolina home, owner of Race City Speed Factory, as well as several other brands. I don't use the word infamous lightly. I think you're a household name in the RC industry, and one of the guys that I think everybody has. It's one of two streets with you, man. It's people who love you, and the people who don't like you don't like you. So I think that's I love that about you. Actually, that is one of the things that I think is great. I think that's why probably a lot of people like you, man.
Well, yeah, I've had a I don't care attitude for a long time. Life's too short to worry about the people that don't really give too much about you. I would say when we had like message boards way back in the day, dirtlocal.com, it was probably more like 40% loved me, 60% hated me. Now I hope it's more closer to 70-30. But I mean, you know what? I don't worry about the haters too much. Like I said, life's too short. I love what I do way too much to let any detractors take away my happiness and my satisfaction from life.
Absolutely. One of the things, like you're saying, you have way too much going for you. I mean, when it comes to RC, man, it seems like you have touched just about every facet that you can touch in our hobby. So tell us a little bit about what you have going on, and then let's kind of go back to the start of where everything got started, and then we'll bring it to present day. Then you can go deep into where you're at today.
All right. Well, here 2026, I am the owner of Race City Speed Factory, or an indoor carpet oval track, and about the most opposite of what I race typically, or what you would expect me to have for a racetrack. It's a world class facility, but when it was time for me to start my own track and chase my dream of being kind of a steward for the hobby and the sport, I decided that racing $2,000 cars wasn't the answer. So my facility races $200 cars. And we kind of figured out how to make these ready to run $200 cars run like they're race cars. It's kind of a different model. We run lower dollar stuff, and we're very specific on our rules packages, but we also develop the cars and we teach everybody how we're making them run. It's taking the competition level a lot higher and making racing a lot more sustainable cost wise. I think it's probably one of my most proud things I've been able to accomplish. I work hand in hand with the guys at 1RC. With 18 scale cars, I do a lot of testing and development work for them. And we figured out a few little things that we can do to those cars to make them better. And they've improved their manufacturing. And so I absolutely love what they've got going on. Lots of fun times racing the small cars. And honestly, that's my week to week, day to day thing. Got Talent in the Bottle Tire Prep. That's my company. We've been around since probably about '09 when I first started making tire prep. I didn't really market it until I moved back to this side of the country in 2016. But we've won, I think we're over 52 Chili Bowl championships now with my tire prep. And that's not bad for a guy making tire prep out of his spare bedroom here at the house. You know, it's a lot less toxic than a lot of other guys' stuff. I'm not reballing go kart prep like some people do. My prep's claim to fame is it doesn't smell bad. So that's something huge that the guys always tell me, hey man, I started using your prep and you know, it works good. It works good enough. When I get home from a race, my wife doesn't yell at me that the car stinks and the garage smells, and she doesn't make me put my cars out in the shed. It's okay if oh wow, the garage smells great. So that's one of the things I love is that my stuff is tolerable. And then I do Triple X Power Labs. I do motor tuning, hippos, brushless motors. I work with Team Zombie directly right now. So we use Team Zombie motors and speed controls, batteries, hybrid ceramic bearings, just all kinds of stuff. I make my own bearing oils, just a whole bunch of different products. Honestly, one of the hardest things is over the last 20 something years is trying to figure out how to continue to make a living in the RC oval industry and do so. I have to constantly reinvent the hustle, I guess you could say. So as the sport evolves and things change, you can't rely on this anymore to be your cash cow. You got to constantly evolve and find a place in the marketplace where you can provide something with value. Um, and performance, and then also have a reputable name that people trust, and you got to be available to help people.
Where does the entrepreneurial spirit, the mindset of, "Man, I'm gonna go down all these different avenues," like, where did that come about for you? Tell us about the kind of the origin story of having brands inside of this industry.
I guess it goes way back, but I started racing RC cars about 29 years ago. It was April 1997. I went to an RC car race and I raced and I sucked. And it wasn't just like a little bit bad. So put it this way, I went to my first race was a dirt oval race, and I signed up for the stock truck class, which is the beginner, like the entry level class at my old track, Hot Rod Hobbies in Saugus, California. And I signed up for stock truck, and the guy that TQ'd and won that night, I believe he ran 31 or 32 laps in 4 minutes. It was a pretty big track. And the first heat, I finished 16 laps. The second heat, I finished 17 laps. And the main, I ran 18. I was completing like 58 to 60% the laps of the regular guys. And I'm out there doing the best I can. And I was so bad, but I didn't go home like dejected. In my head, I was like, I got work to do. I got to figure this out. So I kept working and working and working and trying to figure out how to wrench and get faster. And then I would change everything 13 times and go race the next week. Eventually, I would get a little bit quicker, a little bit quicker. And but really, one of the things that held me back when I started, I had horrible equipment. But we were dirt poor back then. Like we didn't have any money. My dad used to volunteer at the local track, and back in the days of hand out like house transponders, he would be a transponder guy, and he would hand out transponders, make sure they got them back, make sure he's got the right stuff, and he would volunteer at the track to help that way. And that's how we paid my entry fee. They let us race for free because my dad would volunteer. Like we didn't have any money, we didn't have the funds to race at the levels that most guys did back then. And so hand me down equipment is what it took to get me to run better. Eventually my buddy Fred Barbarossa pulled a motor out of his box. He gave me this motor and bolted it in my car. And I went 3 laps faster. And I'm like, wow, how did that even happen? And that's a motor that was his like 17th motor. And it was the worst one in his box. And he said, here, this will be better than what you got. And it was huge. And then I got some hand-me-down batteries, and there's some more speed. And so eventually, one of the local guys named John Ansel, he passed away long ago, but he put me into one of his sprint car. I had never driven a sprint car before, and I ran second first time out with it. And it's one of those things where when guys would put me in the equipment that worked, I was talented enough to figure it out. I don't use the word talent, talk about myself in a raw talent way as far as extracting maximum speed from a vehicle, but it's like the ability to adapt. I figure stuff out really quick and grab a radio and get up to speed pretty quick, usually a lap or two with whatever it's got. Now, when I talk about talent, there's some guys out there with some ridiculous talent. And I'm gonna name three names right now that you know very well. Max Fleur is, in my opinion, the most talented guy that's ever held a radio. He is by far the most talented guy. Grant Riles, that kid's amazing. He's a buddy of mine too. And then Ryan Ralph's really good. Ethan Dean. I think is the goat all time for loose dirt. Oh, I raced for Customers years ago. Well, I'm sure we'll touch on that as we get into this talk a little later. But when I raced with Nathan, it was amazing. 'Cause I'd walk to his pits and look at his cars, and they were in such disarray, and they were not maintained. And he'd be out there putting 4 laps on everybody. And I remember a distinctive memory of Chili Bowl where his wheel fell off crossing the checkered flag, and he had like a lap and a half on everybody, and he finished on 3 wheels. I'm just like, how does this guy do it? And he was always a super talented guy, super good with the radio in his hand. Not the best wrench, but I hear he's getting better at that.
Seems like you're not gonna find a better guy either. Nathan was just incredible, man. He's been so good to me.
Yep, yeah, yeah, I love Nathan. So back when Nathan first started coming around, like in the mid 2000s, the Texas guys, they had these like crazy. So this was like the nitro heyday. Like nitro was just starting to get big, and there was like nitro sprint car stuff. And so I was living in Phoenix at the time in '04, and there's like this track out there called RC Sports Mania, and they had all these guys from Texas come out, and it was like this Texas versus the West Coast guys. But the Texas nitro sprint cars were really like RC10 GT chassis, and they're like stadium truck based, and they're racing them with the sprint car body. That's like it's like running an 8 scale sprint car against 10 scale sprint cars. Everybody else had buggy size stuff, but it was so crazy. They all raced together, and that's how we all figured out who Nathan was. And that kid always was flying. He was really good, and he started going to open wheel. We were the two kids at that age who always had the raddest hair. We'd always have to see who had taller spikes on our head. But yeah, he's our hair was always on point. So I used to have like Wings hair with different colors and long spikes, and he used to always have his stuff done up real good too. So if there was ever a competition for best hair, it was always between us two back then.
His wasn't quite as colorful as yours, I don't imagine.
And I don't ever remember him doing any color, but he always had some good styles, some good. He always had good spikes and stuff, and it was good stuff. So
Cool. Heck yeah, man. Let's just keep going on the entrepreneurial spirit, man. Like where does that come from? Where does the idea that, hey, I'm gonna make a living doing this, or I'm gonna give it my best crack, right? And you've made it last for how many years now doing that?
right. Well, I guess it kind of started because I didn't have the funds behind me to race like I wanted to. And one thing about me is I don't like to suck at anything. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to try to learn and do my best. I'm a homework guy. Like I want to do all the homework possible to get better and figure stuff out, and I just figure out how to make things better, make myself better, and make strides and improvements. So way back when my local stuff, there was not a whole lot of oval parts available locally. I ran a class called stock truck. So I had an RC10T, and a lot of guys were talking about these slipper eliminators that would go on the top shaft. And well, I didn't have one and I didn't have access to one. So I figured they're telling me, oh, you can get rid of a bunch of rotating mass. So this is kind of a crazy story. The first RC part I ever designed was a slipper eliminator. I was taking a drafting class in high school. And so I went to my drafting class. I used all my tools in drafting class. I sketched up a design, and I gave it to a buddy of mine at the RC track who was a machinist. So, IFMAR world champ Jared Tebow, his dad was the first person that made a part for me. So, I sold slipper eliminators in 1998, 1999 under my header cards all said TQ Racing Products. I didn't ever stick with that name beyond that, but I mean, I sold 150 slipper eliminators back then, and I'd make about $6 to $10 per slipper. So if I go to a racetrack and I sold three or four, that's my entry fee for that day for running two classes or whatever, you know? And so I had to find different hustles so I could afford to race like I wanted to. The number one thing for me was if I'm going to get better at this, I got to be able to afford to do it. I got to figure out how I'm going to do it. And I became good at doing all the work myself. I had to learn how to build motors, and I had help from a local motor guy way back when, and he taught me a bunch of stuff. And then Scott White with Bonsai Motors back in SoCal years ago. He taught me so much, and he was so helpful. And then there was just a bunch of veteran racers who were just showed me some stuff about wrenching, and I just figured out a lot of stuff by tearing stuff apart and cleaning bearings and oiling bearings and figuring out all the different little details, how to make the drive line spin free. And I never had the best motors as a kid, like in the 90s, but I guarantee my drive line spun longer than yours or anybody else's would. And that was always kind of my claim to fame is if I got my car as good as my car could be, and if I drove it as good as I could, hopefully I can overcome any advantage someone has equipment wise. And so with that, I just kept on having to find a different way to hustle. And then I got an offer from my local hobby shop. They said, "Hey, we need some seasonal help here for Christmas time. Would you like to come help out?" And I said, "Sure." And then I that turned into 7 years of working at the local hobby shop, which got me cost on all my parts and pre-entries for local races. And it's kind of one of those unwritten things where if you work at a shop or a track and you go to someone else's shop or track, they let you race for free. So a lot of places I went to, I never had to pay entry fees, and it made it a lot more doable to race where I'm at. And so fast forward a couple years, and 2004, I start designing my own chassis for the first time, and I'm trying to figure out I've never been a buy that product that's already figured out and go run what everybody else has kind of person, but I've done it. I've done it a handful of times. So just over the years, had to figure out a way to make racing something I can do more often. And like oh 04, I would say oh 03, oh 04, oh 05. I didn't have a lot of local races. I bet you I only raced 5 or 6 times a year, but I'd have a big race in mind 2 months from now, and I would tear all my cars apart, do a full rebuild. I figure out the rules package. I build my car for whatever rules they had. I try to build the best mousetrap I can with the equipment I had, and I do really well. And that was my thing. But I told myself, like, I got to get to where I can race more. I got to get to the track more. I need more wheel time. So that's kind of been always the drive behind it. But I did find a substitute for wheel time way back. I don't know. It must have been 2001, 2000 maybe. Traxxas made basically a radio, a TQ radio that had a keyboard or joystick kind of input for a computer. So I used to play all kinds of dirt tracking games Like there was one called dirt tracking where I raced like street stocks and stuff on dirt with an
Mhm.
RC radio. So I'm sitting there like getting wheel time. I'd race RC cars 4 to 6 times a year, and I'd get wheel time 5, 6 times a week. And so
Nice.
I cannot find one of those for the life of me. I can't even find evidence they existed on the internet, like trying to search for them. But I know I had one. I don't know where it ended up being. My dad might have it somewhere in storage, but I mean, I swear that was the best thing is getting wheel time. I appreciate everybody, man. There's no replacement for wheel time.
Absolutely. I know, it's so funny you bring that up because I just switched over to the Fly Sky system where you can it reads as a joystick just through a
Mhm.
USB-C cable plugging in your computer.
Right.
I run iRacing quite a bit. I'll do the dirt old stuff with my, Fly Sky rig now, so yeah, I feel you there. I'm always doing something when I get the time for sure.
If only we could drive from on top of the press box, it'd be golden.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if they gave you the Johnny Gibson view, I'd play it every day.
If you can't race against other people, but in practice lobbies, I believe that you can. If
Awesome.
I that you can at least like how the old NASCAR games are where you can be behind the car, I know you can. I don't know about the other views, but
Right.
I know you can switch them a little bit, but it's only in practice because any like official racing, you got to be in the car. One thing that I want to touch on as well, given your hat and every hat that I've ever seen you wear on social media, you have some California roots, as you just said. Is that where you're born and raised?
Yeah, so, I was born in Pasadena, California. That's where the Rose Parade and the Rose Bowl football game are played. I was born in Pasadena. I grew up a couple miles east of there, a little town called Duarte, a very tiny little town. But as I grew older, I ended up in what's called Santa Clarita Valley. There's actually like a show on Netflix called like the Santa Clarita Diet or something where they're like eating people or something. I never watched it, but um, if you're ever in Southern California and you go to where Six Flags Magic Mountain is, that's my hometown. So that's home for me. So yeah, I grew up in LA, born and raised a Dodger fan, love the Dodgers. We sucked. We got a World Series in '88. We sucked ever since, and all of a sudden we've been good. Doing things great the last couple of years. It's been a good couple of years to be a Dodgers fan, but I rock the Dodgers hats my entire life. It's always been my thing. I am kind of I'm really picky about hats. I only wear like new era fitted hats, and then obviously I like all kinds of different colors. But if it's a Dodgers hat, or I do get blanks and have my own logos like embroidered on them and stuff. But you'll see mostly Dodgers hats in my repertoire.
When you can get a hat on, when you're not all spiked up, right?
Yeah, so I got rid of the mohawk, so, yeah, every once in a while, I gotta redo it, start over. I'm actually in the process of I'm growing back out from, I had my last mohawk, and I shaved it all off so it can be evened up, and then I'm getting gray, if you guys can see, I'm getting pretty gray in here, but I'm gonna be 50-50 pretty soon if I'm not already there. I might be 60-40, I can't see the back very well. As it grays out, I'm letting it grow out again, I'm gonna get the spikes back. I haven't done spikes in, probably almost 2 years now, so I'm gonna get back to some spikes, and then there'll probably be some color at some point. I get down with, all the colors and the spikes, it's fun. Guys always ask me, like, "Why a fluorescent yellow mohawk?" And I just one answer, it's super easy, it's called marketing. Whether you like it, whether you hate it, if you walk into a room with 100 people and one dude's got a neon yellow mohawk, you're gonna spot it, you're gonna remember it. So, and if as long as the shirt I have on right underneath it has a logo or something, odds of being noticed are that much higher. I'm at an RC car race and there's 150 dudes there, but one dude's got a neon mohawk. That's going to stand out above the rest. It's all marketing. And it makes it easy for people to see me, and it gives people something to talk about. If you don't know me, some people might feel like I'm intimidating to talk to, or they might just be shy. You can at a minimum you walk up, hey, I like your mohawk, or hey, I hate your mohawk. At least it gives you something, an icebreaker to let me know, and we can have communication from there. And so I love it. I think it's fun. It's crazy if you ever anybody that travels with me, like when we walk through the airports, half the people walk by like looking like I'm some possessed demon, and the other half walk by like, dude, I love your hair, man. I love it. And so it's like I enjoy both sides of it. It's just something fun. But yeah,
That's cool. Do you feel like you're misunderstood in the hobby?
I don't know if I don't know. I never thought about with that word used. A couple people, I guess, kind of have pushed out certain like narratives, like this is who this guy is. I've had a lot of guys that didn't like me, and for whatever reason, whatever they heard something, they saw something, I don't know, they didn't like me. And when it comes down to it, all the people that tend to hate me don't know the first thing about me. They have never really met me or spent any time with me. And some of my biggest haters in the world have become some of my closest friends. As soon as they were exposed to me on a away from the track or even at the track, but like on a personal level where you can find out who I am, what I'm actually about, everything changes and it's so different. But like I said, like I don't get too concerned with what anybody's wanting me wanting or thinking or however they feel. Like it's just I can't worry about that. All I can do is be myself. And it, so I have a personal goal every day at the racetrack, and there's three things. So my goal is at the end of the day, I can look myself in the mirror and ask myself three questions, and if I can answer them the right way, then it's a great day. One, did I try my hardest? Yes. Two, did I not give up? Yes. Three, did I help somebody today? If all three of those are yes, then hey, great day at the racetrack. Whether I finish first, 31st, or 71st, those are the three most important things. And by me shifting my priority from me winning races and me being the guy to me being a member of the community and trying to build the community, I have found this whole extra level of enjoyment for the sport. And I feel like it's like this bonus round in a video game or something. Like I'm racing RC cars and having even more fun than ever before. But like I don't put myself on I don't judge my racing on the same scale that everybody else judges their racing on. It doesn't matter. Like I can go win 100 races this year, or I can go win 2 races this year, or I can go win 0 races this year, and I'm still gonna enjoy the sport for different reasons. And it's not all performance based. It's who you are, and how many people's enjoyment have you helped support, and that's been huge for me.
Absolutely. So right there at the end, you just touched on something that I've kind of tried to shoehorn in almost every guest that we've had so far. You just called it a sport.
Absolutely.
Do you agree with that statement? Is this a sport or is this a hobby? And then what's your opinion on it?
Well, I'll tell you this, if it's a hobby, it hasn't been a hobby for me for 20 plus years. I mean, this is work. When I go to the racetrack, I'm working. I work really hard at the track and away from the track, but when I am at the racetrack, I'm there working because every single person at the track is a potential customer. So I can't be that guy. I can't be a jerk. I can't rub someone the wrong way. I can't be just absolutely insufferable. I can't junk people on the racetrack. I can't carry myself in a negative or very poor manner. I have to be the guy that guy wants to buy something from next time. So I'm always working. So RC, in my opinion, is a sport. This is where I piss people off. I tell the guys all the time, I play with toy cars for a living. Okay. And that right there absolutely ruffles fe These are 100% toy cars, okay? We're not sitting in them. I can go flip off the racetrack 6 times in 1 heat race and put my car back on the track, and the next morning, I wake up and I feel fine, okay? I'm not risking life and limb. We are playing with toy cars. Now, these are highly sophisticated, very tunable, very technical toy cars, but end of the day, they're toy cars. Now, are they how do you define toy? We're not playing with a 3-year-old toy that's got no small parts so that your kid doesn't choke on them, but they are adult toys, and it is what it is. Some guys get really ruffled up in their feathers when I say that, but I mean, okay, I'm not worried about it.
Absolutely. It's just always so interesting to me, everybody, where they stand or what their opinion is on it.
I had a conversation with a guy yesterday. So yesterday was the biggest race of the year at my track called the April Fool's Shootout, and after a main event, one of my racers, one of my local guys, actually won the main event, and he was up there, he's all pumped, and he's been working really hard the last couple months. He's gotten faster and faster and faster, but in the A main, it was really tight, and it was coming down to the wire, and he was shaking up there like crazy. And I've said this to a bunch of guys, especially late last couple of years. How could this not be a sport? Okay, you're sitting up there, standing up there, you're performing. Okay, you got a radio in your hand. There's a car doing exactly what you're trying to tell it to do. Your inputs matter, your hand-eye coordination, but physically, your heart rate's increasing. You're sitting there, getting amped up. You know what? Getting the shakes is one of the single coolest things that could ever happen to an RC racer. Okay, I don't get the shakes anymore. And I'm very glad that I don't because it doesn't matter to me anymore, but, like, if you let it get too into your head, you get the shakes, and I think it's really awesome because how many times in life, how many things in your daily life do you get so excited for you that you get shaken with excitement? Man, that's special. And so when you have those moments and you come off the driver's stand shaking, man, enjoy that, embrace that. That's one of the most beautiful things that RC can do for anybody. And honestly, like I got chills and goosebumps right now thinking about it. Like how many things in life do you really get that excited over and have that kind of emotion where your entire body shakes? Like that is so amazing. And just if that doesn't do anything for you, you're here for the wrong reasons, man.
Absolutely. Heck yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. We just talked about your California roots, but you're now completely other side of the country. How does a California guy end up in Mooresville, North Carolina, Race City, USA?
All right, so I'm gonna go through Cliff Notes because this is a kind of a long story, but I'm gonna make it as short as we can. A long time ago, I was engaged, and my ex fiance wanted to go to a college here in North Carolina. So we left the West Coast. We went to Phoenix for 1 year. We were out here for 2 years. Didn't work out with us. We split. I went back to California. Went back to work for my old buddy. Went back to racing at my old tracks. So I spent the next 10 years back in California, trying to figure out how I'm going to get back to North Carolina. And the reason is the pace of life, the quality of life, the cost of living, everything about East Coast is so desirable compared to Southern California and California in general. I absolutely love it here. I tell all of my friends back in California, like, hey, I got a spare bedroom. You're more than welcome to come out, but I highly recommend you don't do it. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, because if you do, you're going to be looking for places to move out here and your whole life's going to be uprooted because it's beautiful. Now, it actually rained today, so which is great because I live on a half an acre. That means like there's going to be a whole lot of growth here in the next couple weeks. So I'm from Los Angeles where like if you have a yard, you got to have sprinklers that run at nighttime to get your grass to grow, and then you have a lawn guy that comes out and he mows your 117 square foot of grass, and then that's what you got. I have a half acre here. I have a bunch of grass, and it's just there's so much upkeep. But I mean, I live semi-rural, just outside of Mooresville. It's a slower pace of life. I absolutely love it. I'm 12 minutes into town. It's 8 minutes from my house to my shop. But I mean, I'm close enough to everything, but far enough away still. And I mean, I live in the one of the racing capitals. I mean, there's two ways to look at it. If you're into NASCAR, this is Mecca. If you're into IndyCar or drag racing or sprint car racing, then you got Indianapolis. I love both areas. I got a lot of buddies up in the Brownstown area and up there. So I absolutely, I love motorsports. I don't care one bit about NASCAR, but I do pay attention. I do follow everything for one reason only. Because 80% of my customers and my friends around here work for teams, and I want to be able to know how my buddies do, and I want to support my buddy in their endeavors. And when my buddy's team wins, I want to give him a high five, and I want to give him a text, "Hey man, congrats!" And so I got some friends that drive NASCAR various levels, and I wanna be one of the people that text them as soon as they win, like, "Hey man, congrats, dude." And it just I wanna be that guy. I wanna be everybody's cheerleader. And honestly, that actually leads me back to one other thing that I really wanna push the guys out there. One thing that I pride myself on is winning with class, but having even more class when you lose. I'm that guy that when I beat you, I don't ever wanna rub it in your face. I don't wanna be ugly about it. But when you beat me, I wanna be that first guy there smiling, congratulating you, shaking your hand. I want you to know it's sincere because it's important. And sometimes beating that guy with a big name or the reputation or the experience, that could be the highlight of someone's career. So when you get beat, you walk up to that guy, you lean over, you give him that look him straight in the eye, and you shake their hand and say, "Congrats, man, you got me today." That is so huge, and I wish more guys would do that, or at least from the fast guys. I think it does so much more for the sport than anybody would ever realize.
Absolutely, and it creates that camaraderie that I think we're all searching for, right? It
Yep, yep, yep,
makes you a
exactly.
desirable guy. Yeah, I don't think it's near as important to be a desirable guy on the racetrack near as much as it is at your pit bench or even during the week. You wanna be the guy that people reach out to, "Hey, I'm doing this with my tires. What do you think?" Or, "Hey, I just bought this. What do you think of I just bought? Isn't that pretty cool?" Or, just to have buddies and stuff, man, it's so cool,
Right.
and that's the backbone of what all this is about.
Yeah, for sure. So why the East Coast? I just love it. I love it back here. Great people. And honestly, it's kind of weird where Mooresville is. I'd say 1 out of 10 people I meet is local, born and raised, and 8 out of 10 are here from somewhere else for racing. So last night at my track, I was looking at there's a main event on the racetrack at one of my races. And I was like, there's two guys from New York, two from PA, one from Florida, one from Chicago, and there was one guy from Oregon, and there's one guy from North Carolina. And so it's a melting pot of racing people from all over the country, and they all end up here, and I love it.
Perfect. And that's it's funny you bring up Brownsburg and everything. I'm not 10 minutes from Brownsburg. My shop was in Brownsburg. I was an engineer at DSR. And so, I mean, yeah, we're right down the road. And I can't resonate enough with what you're saying because we're building, well, I have about 4 acres back behind my house here, and we're building a track here for obviously sprint cars, late models, things like that on the 10 scale side. And that is exactly what we're doing. I'm gonna have a Tuesday night race or Tuesday evening race, and that is specifically for the guys that are out on the road with the IMSA teams and the
Right.
NHRA teams and the IndyCar teams and all those guys where, because all of them are transplants. Almost every single one of them is a transplant that is not from Brownsburg or this area. So, instead of everybody going and hanging out at the bar, which is cool, no doubt, but I mean, get them out of the bar. We can all come and race. We can all hang out, do our thing. I'm trying to almost take the mold that you've built and what you've done down there and be able to do it here. It's going to be a really good thing for our community.
Yeah, so it's unique. So like Mooresville is kind of a tricky place. Like this area has never really supported weekend racing. And because most guys that work for a team, they're on the road Thursday or Friday through Sunday. And so we race Monday and we race Thursday. And we were Monday and Wednesday. And we switched to Thursday this year. Because right now Wednesday was our low C NASCAR night. We were averaging 55 cars, which is better than most national events are drawing for low C NASCAR stuff. We're averaging that at club races. And Millbridge just started up. Millbridge is it's about 14 minutes from my house, about 12 minutes from my shop. That's one of the best outlaw kart and micro sprint car tracks in the country. But it's right here in Mooresville, just outside of Mooresville. So the owners of Millbridge race at my track, and a bunch of my racers race there, or even make a living there, renting cars or carts to people. So it's one of those things where I was like, let me change my schedule once their season starts up. I'm gonna support my local track. So the weirdest thing is like there's not a lot of work together with RC tracks in North Carolina, and it's horrible. But the same thing everywhere. Most areas, RC tracks are just like, oh, this guy's successful, so I'm gonna try to steal his stuff away. I want his racers. I'm gonna steal his entries. And I'm like, why not work together? So I said, you know what? I told Jeremy at Millbridge, Jeremy and Ashley, I said, hey, I'm gonna change my schedule around so we don't race on your night, and then that way my guys can come race with you and your guys come race with me. And now I'm an RC track working with a full size track. Like it makes sense. Like, I don't know why everybody wants to fight for racers when we can all just work together.
Absolutely. The clientele and the names that, have stemmed, I'm assuming, from your racetrack, right? No question on social media, one of your good buddies now is
Yeah.
NASCAR driver Justin Haley. So tell us about developing that kind of relationship and cultivating that to where, number one, you have a guy that trusts you, right? To where you're going to be with him and go to races and all that. But and then how do you get those guys into your track to where you can even develop that relationship?
Well, the Justin Haley situation, it's about perfect. I think our growing into friendship has been about perfect because the first time I met him, I had no idea who he was. He was at Racing Racer, which was our local dirt oval track. And I saw his trailer, I saw his cars. I walked over and looked at one of his cars on his table outside of his trailer. And as I was walking away, he said, "Hey, what's up?" And I was like, "Not much." And he says, "I know who you are." And I was like, "Cool." And I was like, "I don't know who you are." And um, I wasn't trying to be a jerk. I was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know who you are," you know? And then that was the end of the conversation that day. The next time I was there, I figured out who he was. I figured out that, oh, this is the kid that's running NASCAR stuff. Like, oh, that's cool. And then we weren't friends instantly. We kind of just coexisted. I didn't club race every week at our track. I just run the big races that we had there and a couple of other times a year. But I was there every race and I hang out with my buddies, helping them ranch and supporting them and whatnot. So as time went on, things kind of evolved, and as Racing Rays ended, as they closed down the dirt oval portion of that track, a rumor started going around that he was building a dirt oval track, and I was like, is this true? And he's like, well, I'd like to. So we'll see if that works out. And so I was like, cool. Well, if you do, let me know. I'd like to help you figure stuff out, help you get it right, you know? And so eventually, a couple weeks later, he came over to my shop and we sat down there and I was like, let's just touch base first. I was like, I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do. I don't care about any of the other stuff. You know who I am. I know who you are. I don't care what you do, where you come from. Let's just be real with each other all the time. And it's been that way ever since. And we get along great. He's a fun kid to hang around. He just started a family, and it's just everything. He got married, had a kid. It's like awesome. And so he's just living life, enjoying things. And he's got a lot of different things going on that I've never had to deal with. I've never been married, never had kids. And so he's off racing and doing the best he can. And so we hang out, we do this. Like we're going to play golf this week. And he got me into golf last summer, which man, I love golf. It kicks my ass, but I love it. Just like racing. It's basically the next step after racing, but it's just it's a great challenge though. But being back to my track, like we have some names that come in regularly. And I just tell guys, like, you guys can post stuff, you can promote stuff, whatever you want. That's fine. I'm not gonna go out of my way to make posts with your names. I'm not name dropping, so people show up here. There's been a handful of racers who are bigger, really big names that have been to my place. I've had some private sessions for guys and their kids, and I refuse to name drop because I don't want people showing up trying to get autographs and all that stuff. I want them to have opportunity to come in and be a normal guy.
And that's, I mean, my experience with those kind of guys, like that's all they want in this world is they just want to be a dude. They just want to be a guy. I think they respect that a lot about you doing that. So absolutely. Cool. Well, to keep going on the track, man, tell us about the timeline and the timing of you opening your track.
Well, that was a disaster. Yeah, so here in Mooresville, we had an off-road track called Speed RC from Scott Speed, who used to run Formula One and rally car, still runs rally stuff and whatnot. And he's still like a driving coach for a lot of guys. But Scott Speed had an off-road track here in town, and that went away. I'm thinking 2018 was the year. I can't quite remember exactly when, somewhere around there. And the landlord he had said, "Oh, you got to be out." And so they started building the building. They were going to build a carpet track, and then some racers got in the fight. Basically, they're like, "Well, we don't need to build a track. It's fine." So then we were out. We had no RC track, and props to them. They built an awesome place. They had a really nice place. But we had kind of this void in Mooresville. There's nowhere to race. There's nothing going on. So I guess long story short, I guess it's going to be a name drop because it's the only way to really say it. I was at Lowe's in Troutman, North Carolina, next town north of here. And I was there with Justin Allgaier. And Justin's like, you know what we need, man? He's like, we need someone in Mooresville to open a RC track for one RC cars. And I'm like, what? He's like, "He'd be really good for that. You could do that." And I'm like, "Bro, I don't know about that." And I had not raced 1RC cars yet. I hadn't messed with him. And he was going back home to Illinois, and he was going to Allen's RC, and he was running up there a bunch with those guys. And Allgaier talked me into. He put the thought in my head, and then over the next month, I start thinking about it, and I'm looking for a building, and I blame Justin Allgaier. It's his fault that I have an RC track. I'd always wanted one, and it just kind of made sense at the time. So I found a spot, kind of came up with a business plan, business model, and next thing I know, I'm in the lease. And January 1, 2020, I get the keys. I actually got the keys on the 31st, and I sat in my I have a 4,000 square foot building. Sat in the building basically as the clock struck midnight on New Year's 2020. Sat in there alone in the dark, so I didn't have power yet, and reflecting and thinking, "What the hell did I get myself into?" And as I got older, I'm a little more emotional. And I was in tears because, like, for the first time in my life, this is gonna be my RC track. This is gonna be I'm gonna build this so I can share my passion with everybody. And I tell the guys that come to my track every race day is like, if you step foot in my building, you don't feel my passion, then I'm failing that day. I need you to feel my passion and my love for the sport every single time you walk in these doors. And if I do my job, you will love the sport just as much as I do. And that's been my dedication, my commitment there. So January 1, I get the power turned on. We get stuff going. We start building. We're upfitting, changing the stuff. I spent 3 weeks on my hands and knees grinding the concrete floor to get it smooth and filling low spots and patching and grinding. And it was so long story short with that when I came to look at the facility, it was a CrossFit gym, and so the landlord went to one spot where he lifted up the half-inch rubber mat that was around the whole place, and he showed me this spot on the floor where it looks absolutely immaculate, and it looks like an epoxy floor coating with all the speckle on it. And yeah, the rest of the floor is just like this. So I was like, "Oh man, we're in good shape." So I signed the lease, I move in, and I get in there, and everything is destroyed. There's one spot that's finished, and it's the one spot he showed me. And so the rest of the
Uh,
floor is garbage. And I spent so much time, money, and effort. I had to buy like 3 sets of diamonds for this concrete grinder. And it was an absolute nightmare. Long story short, we get everything done and we decide, hey, we are going to open. So grand opening was set for March 21st, 2020. And on March 14th, we were sitting at Hickory Motor Speedway watching a late model stock car race. They're qualifying, and the guy comes over the speaker and says, Governor Cooper has shut down the state of North Carolina. Everybody must leave. And so we were shut down with COVID, and we weren't allowed to open for the first year. So, like any business, when you spend 100 grand to build a company, and then you got to spend another 90 grand to stay open for the next year without being able to make any money, you pretty much know, hey, this is a bad situation. So my RC track will never, ever, ever turn a profit, will never be profitable. But the way I look at it now is if every month I can keep it going is another month the initial investment lasted. And so then it costs me less money lost per month. So I tell all my friends all the time that want to open RC tracks, hey man, if you really love it, do it. You're looking to make money. Don't even think about it. So,
Interesting. Yeah, that's I seen that and then my jaw hit the floor. I was like, that could not have like there quite literally couldn't have been worse timing. Like
well, my
the
last name's
worst.
Murphy, and Murphy's law is anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and at the worst possible moment. So there we are.
Man. Well, good on you for sticking it out, and I'm sure the community you've built down there, and I know those guys thank you very much for it. So that's cool, man. Yeah, that's crazy.
I tell everybody I got the best group of guys. I love my place. When you walk into my facility, the vibe there is second to none. The way the racers all gather, everybody helps everybody. We like it's the only place I've ever been to in the country where there's no clicks. When it came time to build the track and just lay it out, I made it sure all the pits were right next to each other, and that way nobody's hidden off in a corner. There's nowhere to hide from anybody, so everyone's right there and together, and it just I absolutely love what we got, and that's one reason it still exists. I've been losing money there for years and years and years now, but I love it too much to let it go, and, yeah, so it just is what it is.
Absolutely. Well, with your track, you kind of touched on a little bit, kind of the backbone of your track, other than you, obviously, and your racers, is the concept of the 1RC cars. I think those 1RC cars are the most unappreciated asset that our hobby has right now. The people who know about them can't get enough of them. And then there's the other group of people who just they don't even know that they exist. So tell us about these things, man, because they're badass.
Alright, so I remember when they first came out, so the guy that owns the company 1RC, Brent Redlin, he was a contracted employee of, Horizon Hobby and Losi when I worked for Losi way back in the day, and so we've worked together, we've known about we've been in circles together, and he created this car, and the first one was the midget, and it was so rad, and I remember just seeing him, and I was like, "Man, that looks really cool." I'm like, "That's gotta be a toy." Whatever. Didn't ever think much of it. Then they come out with a sprint car. I'm like, "Sweet," but still didn't think much of it. And it's like time goes on, and I'm kind of just ignoring it. I end up in South Florida, and a buddy of mine, Mike Cabrera, has this track called or his hobby shop called RC Revo and RC Revolution. It's like West Palm Beach. And so we're down there. And I was trying to race at this place called Southland Speedway. It's a little loose dirt oval track down there in Delray, Florida. And first of all, I've been to that track twice, and I bring rain. I am the rainmaker there because every time I come, it's beautiful in the morning. We get our hot laps in, and as soon as the first round starts, I'm usually in the first 3 heats, and while I'm on the track, a downpour happens, and it turns into a butter, and we cancel racing. So first time down there, this happens, and so we head across town, and we go to my buddy's hobby shop, which is RC Revo, and they just happened to be there racing 1RC cars that night. And I'm like, they're like, "You gonna stay and race?" I'm like, "Nah, we're gonna go get some dinner. We're gonna hang out and do whatever." They're like, "Come try my stuff." And all locals like, "Here, just drive it. Just drive it." They conned me into driving it, and I drove a car, and I'm like, "Well, this thing doesn't drive very good. You mind if I make some changes?" And he's like, "Yeah, do whatever you want. Here's the stuff. Here's the preload clips. Here's this and that." So I end up changing a bunch of stuff, set up wise on the car, figure out how tunable these things actually are, and I go out and end up TQing and winning the main event. Cool thing that, I can say is the first time I ever raced a 1RC car, I won the main event, but the guy who went and second to me was Indy 500 winner Rick Mears.
No kidding.
Yeah, I have the picture still. I had a hot pink mohawk back then. I still have the pictures of him. Yeah, he was a local fast guy down there. So that was pretty neat little deal too. So after everything was over with, I was like, the guys were like, "So what do you think about these things?" I'm like, "Yeah, well, they're slow. They're fun for what they are, but they're slow. They're kind of boring." They're like, "Oh, okay," because we raced them. They were running with a nickel metal hydride 5 cell pack. Well, and they're like, We can put a lipo in it." I'm like, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Yeah, but you can't control it with lipo." And I was like, "Oh, you can't, huh?" So I was like, "Let me see one." I put a lipo in there, and instantly, it's like it's more of the thrill of like driving a 13.5 sprint car instead of a 17.5 just stock car. You know what I mean? It's like a lot more power. It's actually more exciting. And I'm like, oh, okay. Now I'm like, is there anything else I need to know about? Like, oh, well, they make a bigger motor. I'm like, oh, my good. 10,000 kV motor. So this next thing I know, I got the sprint car. We put a big motor in it, put a lipo battery, and now it's like running a mod sprint on a tiny little bull ring. It's pulling the front end up off the ground, and you really have to finagle it. And I'm working on the chassis. And by the time I was done, I picked up like 1.2 seconds a lap on
Wow.
tuning, and they're like, everyone's just lying the track watching. They're like, and I said, now if we race these things like this, then you got my attention. They were slow, but they were fun. The stock way they were racing them, but I was like, this is what. No, not everybody can handle that. It was kind of hard to drive without having the car specifically built for that stuff. But since then, during COVID, that whole 2020 year, me and my buddies were at my track every single day. First of all, we weren't masked and we weren't doing any of that crazy stuff. We just went to our shop, we hung out, and we literally ran 1RC cars all day, every day, and we tuned on. We learned how what to do to make them handle right, how to free up the suspension. We got the shocks figured out, and next thing you know, it's like we're hauling ass with these things, and we're having great racing. And we're like, "Hey guys, come race these!" And everywhere we went around the country, like we're winning races with them. And but the thing is, we're not just kicking your butt; we're kicking your butt, and we're teaching you. And that's what's really helped make them run is that we're not gatekeeping all the information. So I still love the 1RC stuff. I think it's by far the absolute best. By far the absolute best affordable form of RC racing. They're just enough adjustments and tuning to get you hooked up pretty decent on any surface you end up on. They're not made for grippier tracks. They're not made for dirt. They're not made for low bite, but you can certainly run them on different things. But I've run on carpet, concrete. I've run on foam. I've run on rubber. I've run on just about anything you can think of. Run on plywood, and I've had a blast everywhere I've run them. And everywhere we go, they're just tunable enough that I can make them where I can have fun with them. And so I love them. My buddy Brent, he's got a great thing going with those cars, and I absolutely have enjoyed my time racing 1RC stuff. I do really well with them. Me and a couple buddies of mine are pretty much in the top 5 of the fastest guys in the country with them, and everywhere we go, they know we're there. So I absolutely love that.
That's awesome. So to roll directly into the next thing, then you guys also have a really big Losi presence at your track specifically, and the Losi NASCARs, and I seen they just dropped the Losi like late model stocks cars as well. So tell me about that, and where do those have a place? Not only at your track, but nationally, where do those have a place in our hobby as well?
Well, that's kind of a funny story. 3 years ago, I was at the West Coast Oval Nats, and I have a bunch of buddies who were engineers for LOSI, Horizon, TLR, and they were in my pit area the entirety of a 3-day race weekend. And we're talking RC, talking about future, talk about like what products can we make, what can we do. They were looking to basically build a mud boss, and I'm like, well, you know what? I don't think that's the answer because that class exists. The Traxxas rules package is already out there. Honestly, if you built a mud boss style car, you'd have to make exceptions in the rules to allow this other one or just run them separate. I still think it's a place to fit in. And I said, why don't you guys build a sprint car or a late model or a sprint car and a late model? And eventually the 22 sprint car shows up on the same timeline that the Losi NASCAR shows up. And I told him, I was like, if you get the right marketing idea and you get the right package at the right price, it will be successful. Then the one place that they're failing is the absolute same place that Traxxas is failing when it comes to all the RC dirt oval stuff. There's something special. So like when the Traxxas Lash came out, my local hobby shop in California, Hot Rod Hobbies, we were getting 50 something every Tuesday night, 50 something spec slashes to race off road. Okay. I would I'd be top 3 or 4 most of the nights out there running, but, like, the dude that won the first, like, 6 nights, I was the first one to beat him. He was a former pro low-C driver. He worked for the local magazine. If he got out to a clean start, you weren't catching him, but he was so good and so smooth, and one night in the first lap, I tapped him in a bumper, I passed him, I beat him, and that was awesome. But that Traxxas Slash package was great as long as we kept it box stock. But then J Concepts comes out with a goosebump tire for the car, and then some of the guys buy them and some tracks allow it. And then MIP comes out with a ball diff instead of that unsealed gear diff. And so if you start allowing these little things in there and it goes from this, we're no longer racing a $200 RTR car. Now we're racing a $200 RTR car with the aftermarket tires and aftermarket this and aftermarket that. And then eventually you're racing wallets. And now that ruins everything.
Then you have a low C22S sprint car that costs as much as a GFRP open car. You people are silly.
You heard it here first,
I've
folks.
been screaming this from the rooftops. Thank you.
So, but if you are a track or a racer or a track promoter and you want to keep everything the way it should be and say, hey, you know what, we're going to run this low C22 sprint car, we're going to keep them box stock, and there's 3 items you can do to tune the car. You can change your diff fluid, you can change your shock oil, and you can change your preload. Boom, you're done. And some places out now they're allowing guys to do this, they're doing changing that, they're doing it this tire, and it's like, you know what, you got to make shit make sense, and it just doesn't always. So if they keep that where it is, it works. Now, fast forward to my track with the low C cars. When they came out, first thing I did is I said, you know what? I need to learn from the failures that these tracks had with the Traxxas stuff. We're going to keep it box stock, and it's going to be legitimately box stock. So at my track, we had initially 2 classes. Now we have 5 classes of low C NASCAR. And so I'm going to explain what they are. So we have the car base, the car bodies that come ready to run. So we have what we call the ARCA class, we have the Bush class, and we have the Cup class. And the rules for all 3 of these are exactly the same. It's just that the ARCA class uses the 50% toggle on the radio, the Bush class uses the 75%, and the Cup uses 100%. They all use identical rule package. You can all the classes. There's 3 things you can change, and that's it. You can adjust your diff crease, you can adjust your shock fluid, and you can adjust your preload colors. And then the only other option on the cars, you can run either the soft or the medium tires from Losi, but the mediums are faster than softs anyways, so everyone's on medium, and so there's that. And so if you buy a car and you come racing at my track and you start at the bottom, you can absolutely evolve up to the top tier pro class without buying any additional equipment. You can't do that in any other form of racing.
So can you at your track, can you run all 3?
No. So that's the other thing is they're separate. Yeah. So you are either a 50 guy, a 75 guy, or a 100. And then we added to other classes because guys were asking about running trucks. And my track, if you want to run trucks, we have 2 truck classes, a 75 truck and a 100 truck. And we call it spec truck or super truck. And then if you're running the truck classes, it has to be your second entry. You can't only run truck. That way we don't steal from the car class. Adding classes without adding entries is pointless. So if we had 5 classes and everyone's running 1, and we have 30 guys. If we have 30 total entries running 5 classes versus 30 entries running 3 classes, it's detracting instead of adding. So
Have you seen pushback with that where you're, again, lack of better phrasing, like you're forcing guys to do that second car, or if somebody wants to run truck, you're forcing them to have a primary car, if you will. Have you seen pushback on that at all, or not bad?
you know what? There's going to be a little bit. There's a handful of guys who want to run 2 car classes, and I tell them I was like, the first time I let you run 100% and 75%, and then you win 75%, people are going to cry that you're a 100% guy. And so then you look like a cherry picker. So nobody wants that. And so, and honestly, what it comes down to is track owners need to grow a spine. This is how the rules are. This is what we're doing. You're going to follow this or you're not going to participate. And too many tracks are like, oh, I can't risk an entry fee. Well, sorry, I don't care. So, my rules, every decision I make is, in my opinion, for the betterment of racing for the entire group, not me, not this guy, not that guy, but everybody. And so for me to put my foot down and make it work, that's truly what does work. We've had a couple of guys come in from other tracks that were blatantly illegal, and I've torn my guys' stuff down enough so they know that they're not like racing that not on a level playing field. They're all racing fair. When someone comes in, and honestly, I know lap times are capable of because I'm there with the guys that are working hard every week, and I watch all their lap times. I see who's doing what. So if someone random comes in with something crazy different and they're a tenth better, I'm like, hey, let's tear that car apart. See what you got going on. And in general, though, I really feel like we got those cars just about maxed out at my track. I don't know that anybody's going to come into my place and smack my guys in the mouth. But if they think they can, I'd love to see it. I'm gonna put on a big race here in the next month or two for low C NASCARs, and I'd love to see guys come in here and try to beat my guys. I think my guys are the best around, and I'll put my money where my mouth is.
Beautiful. So where does tech come into this at? So where does keeping it a level playing field, what burden are you shouldering when it comes to that as the track owner?
Well, it's all 100% is my responsibility. If I'm not willing to tear down people's stuff to make sure it's right, then there's literally no reason to have rules. And so I'm gonna throw this out there, and this is meant to be for every track owner and every racer and every tech guy around the country. Just don't don't take this the wrong way, but if you have a rule and you're not willing to enforce it, your rule doesn't mean shit. 13.5 sprint car, if you're not teching motors, doesn't mean shit. Okay. Plain and simple. If you're not going to look at someone's stuff, if you're not checking people's stuff out, if how many tracks don't even check battery voltage? You're going to sit here and put a motor rule limit on stuff without teching motors. You're not checking people's speed controls for blinky. You're not checking voltage. Tell me, hey, we're in a 13.5, but you let a guy charge to 890, man, that's faster than 10.5 speed. Okay. So I don't care what motor a guy's got in his car. If he's being allowed to run illegal with voltage, man, I just if someone if I go to someone's track and they're running 13.5 sprint, but they don't check anything once, what's the difference in me bolting a 6.0 motor in my sprint car? You didn't check anybody else's stuff. Why are you going to check mine? And so I absolutely, track owners, promoters, tech guys, or lack thereof, absolutely failing racers around the country. Because if you're not checking people's stuff, you're not, why have a rule? And it just baffles me. And then guys complain, oh man, there's so many rules, so many rules. Like, what rules are even enforced? About the only rule I've seen enforced in a while is late model deck lid height. And I'm glad they're starting to do that because there were some dudes running 5.25 inch decks. It's like their stuff was so high. I was like, what is this? But I mean, if we're not going to have a legitimate tech, then don't bother. If you run a racetrack and you say, hey, we're running 17.5 this, and you're not checking stuff, you're just failing. Plain and simple, you're failing the racers. Hey, racers, we want you to be able to we're running 17.5 so that it's a level playing field for you, but we're also not going to make sure that this level playing field is actually level. And there's so many tracks that allow outlaw stuff, and it's just like, all right, so that if as long as it says 13.5 on it. So if I get a Sharpie out and I write 13.5, that says 13.5, right? That now meets your rules, right? Or does it have to be laser etched on there? Do I have to do I have to send it to a buddy who has a laser etch machine, have him laser etch it on the can somewhere? And now it's a 13.5. Like, if we're not going to actually verify what anything is, don't have rules. It's just that simple. If you're running a spec motor class and they're not checking voltage, what's the point of the rules? Like the midget class, a lot of places doesn't check voltage. They don't check your speed control. I know you're supposed to be running a just stock setup, but I mean, if you're not checking motors, if you're not setting a timing max, and then some places are allowing 51, 53 degrees of timing in a just stock, it's like they don't come that way. They've never come that way. Anybody that says they are is full of crap. So if you're not checking this stuff, don't have a spec class. I'd much rather run an open roar modified midget and then you hook up what you hook up than be running a just stock class where no one's checking motors, speedos, battery voltage, or anything else. At least you know what you're aiming at.
Right, or even worst case scenario, somebody has, like what you just said, has stock appearing, and then you get waxed by somebody, you just got beat by somebody's wallet then, and that's really frustrating too. So I think one thing that everybody's gonna ask about your track specifically is when you're talking about the 50, 75, 100 classes, and that's all on if anybody's familiar with the low C stuff, that's literally a switch on the radio. So how are you what's stopping somebody from having it on 75 in the 50 class and then turning it back? Is there somebody watching that? What are you doing to police that?
So basically, I look at cars on lap times, and I will walk over to your car and recalibrate your stuff right in front of you, or I'll call you out, and I'll like I know what lap times are. There's approximately 3/10 of a second between 50 and 75, then 75 and 100. So it's obvious. So if you're out there running 3/10 quicker than the field, and I'm watching you, and it's all straightaway speed, and you're missing the corner, then I know there's something up. And so when that happens, it's now my responsibility to go handle that. So there's been times where I've had guys that come in there and they are really fast, but you look at it, they're killing guys from corner entry to corner exit. And they might be a little bit better down the straightaway, but they're not beating guys 3/10 on the straightaway. They're beating guys 2.5 tenths in the corner and half a tenth on the straightaway. And there is going to be variances of motors. And I also know which guys are in there tearing their cars apart and keeping their drive line free and cleaning bearings and oiling bearings, and versus the guys that haven't had their diffs out of their car since they bought it. And there's a difference there. Some guys are on top of their tire program, some guys aren't. So we're a no prep facility, so it's really easy to spot if anybody preps a tire, they balloon up pretty good. So it's really easy to tell if someone's got anything going on. And I'm on top of it. It's up to me. It's my job to keep everybody in line.
Are you a no prep facility, as in you can't have prep on race day, or you can't have prep
No
tires
prep
at all,
whatsoever.
period?
You bring prep tires into my place and you put them on the racetrack, you're gone. I will catch you. There's been four guys have tried. 4 guys are no longer welcome. So,
Beautiful, because they don't understand the damage that they're putting on your track either.
well, in my opinion, if you're willing to come to my facility and ignore my rules and ignore the fair competition we're trying to provide in an effort to cheat just to get on a social media picture, say I beat those guys, then you're not there for the right reasons. I don't need you. Your $30 of entry fee money can go somewhere else. And you know what? We're better off without you.
Absolutely. So you just said something that leads me into the next question, social media. Tell us about what your opinion of the importance of social media is, both from a personal brand as well as for the hobby.
Yeah, so uh a little I'll touch on that in a couple different areas there. So I have a pretty big following. I'm almost up to 10 grand on my followers on Facebook. I also am the first guy you'll see that never, ever, ever has said like, follow, or share anything because I don't care. I want you to follow me because you like my content. I want you to share because if you see something that's worthy. I want you to follow me if you think I'm worth a follow. And if not, so be it. It's okay. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. But I think that people need to think twice before they post on social media, especially. It takes 20 positive posts to touch the reach of one negative post. And it's just the algorithms look for drama. They look for people that are outraged and people. I almost feel like the algorithms search out certain keywords like angry, pissed off, or something like that. And they will throw that right into the mix above anything else that says happy, great time, fun, you know. But you know what? Just don't be that guy. Your local RC track is having a hard enough time making ends meet and keeping the doors open so you have a place to race. When you sidestep that with some out of line comment with and not even understanding what's going on or not having the full picture, all you're going to do is hurt another small business. And you know what? If you don't like something I'm doing, you have every right to come to me and talk to me about it. Posting on social media about something you don't like isn't exactly the best place for it. Not everybody's going to understand it. Not everybody's going to handle it that way. But it's my job to take what people say and respond to it in a way that is transparent, open, honest, and just also forthcoming. I want everybody to know I understand your issue. This is where we're at. This is why this happened. And so that's why with my facility, everything I do, everything I say, every decision made, I will 100% back up and say this is for the best of everybody. And sometimes you got to get rid of that one bad person, one bad egg. It could be the cancer for your entire race program. And as soon as you lose that one person, everybody is so much happier and better. And it's just so much more improved.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a lot of track owners and a lot of people around nationally that could use that advice if they would just listen. All right, brother. Well, I've taken up almost an hour and a half now, or we're hour and 15 minutes of your time. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. We have 4 questions that I ask every single guest at the end of every episode. Everybody gets the same exact one. So you run just the letter X on all of your cars. Why?
There was a time, the first time I did it was, I guess it would have been 2001. I was racing at a track called Racers Haven in Bakersfield, California. And the guy that was announcing the races, he referred to me as the X Factor. He said, anytime this guy's on the track, he's the X Factor. He's the one you always know you got to worry about him winning the race, and so that kind of stuck with me. So I used to hand cut all my own numbers and all my own decals for all my cars, and so I kind of sketched something up and I made an X and put an X on my car, and ironically, that is still the same exact design that my X's are today. It's just been digitized and created into that. So the actual exact I'd say it's 95% the same shape my initial X's were. And people are like, what's it mean? What for? Okay. So some people are like, oh, is it for 10? I'm like, sure. The Roman numeral 10. Is it for this? Is it for that? No, I don't know. It doesn't, I don't have any super duper deep personal meaning. My favorite number is nine. Technically, if I have to pick a one digit numerical number, I prefer the number 99. 99's been my number forever for everything, which just so happens to be Justin Haley's number. So like me and one of my best buddies, we have the same number. My buddy Chris Samard in California, he's number 99 also. So it's kind of a theme where a lot of my friends were on the same number. But I did the X. It was unique, something different. And then when it came time when I sold the Murf Dog brand in 2016, I had to figure out what I was going to do going forward. People were like, what are you going to do? What's your brand name going to be called going forward when you do other stuff? And I was trying to figure out what I can do that would draw people to me and they'd realize it was mine. And I was like, well, let's do triple X because I've always kind of liked if you look at my logo, it's kind of got Moto Triple X kind of vibe to it from the old school days, like the Moto Triple X videos and all that stuff they used to do for dirt bike stuff. So that's kind of the vibe and the theme behind it. And so Triple X X, does it have any real deep personal meaning to me? Not specifically. It's just unique and no one really did it. So roll with that.
Absolutely perfect. What is one tech tip or piece of knowledge that you feel every racer should know?
The number one thing in the absolute world, whatever radio you have, learn every feature and function of your radio and figure out how you can better use that as a trackside tool to make yourself drive better, easier, whatever. When I get a new radio, I will charge the battery and I will read through front cover to back cover through the manual. Some of the Futaba manuals are like that thick, and I'll go through 3 batteries trying to learn every function and feature and figure out what I need, what I don't need, and then I will go through like right now I'm using the Futaba 10PX US limited edition, and with that, it's a 40 model memory. So what I do first thing once I understand the radio is I'll set model one. I'll go through and set the user menus, put all the buttons where I want them, set everything up exactly how I want it, and all the different stuff. And I'll create one profile with exactly what I want, and I'll copy that one. So on my radio, it'll say triple X. That's my base model that I know is already been done. And I'll copy that to all 40 models. So all 40 models will then start out with all my features and my functions. Everything's in the same place. I am an absolute master at navigating and tuning my radio. And every time you see me at the racetrack, you'll see me digging the radio, making 3 or 4 adjustments, steering speed, dual rate, throttle endpoints, obviously trim, stuff like that. I am on all of that. Steering speed's a huge trick that I use. If your car feels twitchy, turn your steering speed down. It'll take away the edginess of your servo and it will be less twitchy. If your car feels lazy, you can turn it up a little bit, but I mean, you just got to fine tune that. Every car I build, I use my own triple X Murf Dog edition servos. I instantly turn the speed to 90% because they are way too fast. I would say get comfortable, familiar with your radio, and there's more speed in your radio than as far as fine tuning it to your driving than there is anywhere else in your package, I would say.
Love it. What is one RC race every racer should go to?
Ooh, okay. That's a tough one. I've been to pretty much all the races over the 29 years I've been racing. I've had a heck of a run. I've won every big race there is pretty much 4 times. I've won February Freeze 4 times. I won Open Wheel 4 times. I won Chili Bowl 4 times. So I've had a great run in a lot of different races. I would say this will be controversial. Attend your local big race every year. Support your local track because that's the one that matters most. Chili Bowl, a lot of guys ask about Chili Bowl. It's a cool thing to go to. A lot of people might think I'm anti Chili Bowl. I'm really not. It's just about having the right attitude if you're going to go there and do that. Keep your expectations in check. Don't get yourself too caught up in results. Enjoy the moment. So, but your local big race, that's the one. That's the one you got to kind of pay attention to because if you don't, man, if you don't support your local track, it's not going to be there very long. So make sure you got a local track to support it as much as you can.
Love it. Love it. Last question. Give me 3 people who you think should be the next guest on the podcast.
Ooh, what direction do you want this to go?
3 people. You tell me.
I would say I have seen a bunch of them where you've had some pretty reputable dudes on here, so I feel like you're hitting a lot of the top tier guys. I would say some local mid class guys, like some fast 13.5 guys. You'll probably get more satisfaction by getting your local grassroots guys. I would contact my buddy Dave Peak. He's from New York. He helps him run Full Throttle. He builds the Peak Boss, Mud Boss stuff. He's pretty much the top Mud Boss guy in the country. I think he would be an outstanding guest for you. He's similar to me. He has a very good, very positive outlook on the sport. And he also believes, man, it's all about what you can do for the hobby, not what the hobby can do for you. And I absolutely love what he's bringing. Two other guys. Let's see. I would go out to the West Coast. I would contact Kyle Layton. Kyle Layton runs a track called Auburn Raceway. Yep. Kyle, he's a great dude. W- We've known of each other. We've been in various circles around each other. We don't have a lot of experience directly with each other, but I think there's a lot of mutual respect there. He does done an outstanding job with that. He's doing awesome things for Northern California oval racing. So I think he'd be a good guy to talk to. Plus, he's got his huge off-road connection. He was a local factory pro there in California on the West Coast. So he's got an off-road side. He's also been really fast with the oval stuff as a racer, but he also is on the promoter and track operator side. I think he'd be a great person to talk to.
As soon as we hang up from this recording, I'm posting that he's next week's guest.
Awesome. So perfect. That'd be great. The third one, this one would probably be a little fun for a lot of guys. I would contact Beard. He runs Little Dega RC Speedway. So Jonathan Robertson, he's a good dude. He's very good for racing in his area. He's a great promoter. Although he's a Southern boy, so it's hard to understand what he said. He talks a little slower than we do, so you got to be careful with these other guys. But before we go, there's one thing I want to touch on from a previous show. One of your previous guests mentioned me not once, not twice, but 3 times. And so I went through, did some research. I want to touch some facts out there about a few things that were discussed. You had a guest that happens to be the only person I know who designed a product that was patented in the RC dirt oval industry. And I was beyond flattered when he said that they patented that product in fear that I was going to copy it, because I was never even thinking about it. So, I mean, I'm absolutely flattered by that. To think that he
And just so we're all on even playing field, this is Arnie Fye we're talking about.
Yes. So I'm absolutely flattered that he was that worried about me back then, because I wasn't that worried about it. Personally, I never liked that design, and I didn't. I think it's really neat to have trackside tunable adjustable toe arms. High five on that. I never liked that the wheelbase changes from one max toe in to max toe out. You're almost an inch of wheelbase change on that side of the car. I think that's a big flaw in the design. But I mean, so be it. But one of the things I wanted to touch on, there's my notes here. That patent was, where is it? I think it was filed December or September 10th, 2013. They filed for that patent. So 2013. In my notes here, I did some homework. In the year 2003, Chad Smith of Dynotech built the original aluminum adjustable rear AR. Okay, 2003. In 2004, he made a nylon arm with an aluminum adjuster. At the 2004 open wheel race, a gentleman named Randy Hobina ran a Custom Works GBX chassis with Dynotech adjustable arms on it, which really stirred the pot because people didn't like adjusting the toe blocks. And so in 2006, a company called Moose out of Pennsylvania made their own adjustable toe rear arms. In 2008, at the RC Chili Bowl, while I was racing for GFRP, we made the podium with a foam tire sprint car using Dynotech adjustable toe A-arms on the buggy tire mod sprint car. So when someone says that I'm going to copy and steal something, and that was really just a copy and refinement of somebody else's design that you stole, it's kind of cute, but it wasn't like that. So I signed with Custom Works in February 2008. I raced with them 08, 9, 10, and 11. 2012, I parted ways with Custom Works and started the Murf Dog chassis brand. We operated that for a couple years. So to have all that I raced with Arnie directly. I knew him pretty well for as much as I could as a teammate of his, but he and I are very different as personalities, and he is one of the most intense, fastest guys you could have driving a race car, no doubt. Very fast, very detail oriented, very talented guy. But man, he and I are exact opposite when it comes to dealing with people. And my job when I raced for custom at loose dirt races was to basically help the customers get their stuff running and keep them away from Arnie. 'Cause he's so intense, he's just gotta be in his stuff. And so I'd be out there, I'd have the customers' cars on my setup board, setting their basic ride heights, and we'd scale it, figure out their stuff, and anything I can do to keep them from distracting Arnie. That way Arnie can go try to win races. And Arnie and Nathan were good at that. But I mean, I had my responsibility, they had theirs, but, I just think it's funny that he's trying to say that he was worried about me. Now, eventually, I did release an adjustable A-arm for the Murf Dog cars, but my design was one I worked with Steve Pemberton from Pemberton Raceworks, and ours we had the only design where your wheelbase didn't change as you change your toe. So I think ours was by far the superior design. We just don't have the financial backing behind us to one, injection mold the parts, and two, pay for a patent and all the lawyers that go with it. So, but yeah, I'm flattered that he thought that much of me to patent something, and I was the driving force behind it. But that product and that whatever they had going on, they weren't on our radar enough for it to matter. We never had any desire to do that. We also did build an adjustable A-arm, our own version of an adjustable A-arm for the SC10 before they ever released their arm also. So it is what it is, but so be it. Just want to throw that out there. Clear the air. I have no animosity towards Arnie. Me and Arnie been in the industry for a long time together.
Hey, I have nothing but respect for both of you guys. I don't have I don't have a stone in the fight. I'd reached out to you before Arnie's episode to get you on the podcast, and then after obviously you heard it, you reached back out and was obvious. I don't think anybody can deny the passion you just had there, right? I appreciate what Arnie said. I appreciate what you said, and I think it's cool that we have both sides of the coin, right? I don't even think there's sides. I just think there's each side of the coin, and call it good. But man, I'll tell you what, we didn't touch hardly at all about any of your personal accomplishments with racing. I wanted to make sure that we got your track and all the amazing stuff you're doing. But we're gonna have to have you back on, man. We're gonna have a part two of this.
I will gladly come on. That's the problem is I don't. Talking's natural for me, so it's not a problem. So I'm open. I'm down to talk anytime. Anytime we can make it happen, I'm good. Uh, but yeah, like I said, it's a good time. Um, if I can't make the hobby better, I don't want nothing to do with it. So that's where I'm at with it. So
So one last thing I did want to touch on with that is there is a Facebook post that went out that is just went out with you that was relatively vague on not sure what the next move was or what do you have any insights to give all the people? I mean, everybody who's going to listen to this obviously seen that from you or most did. Do you want to touch on that before I let you go?
yeah, so there's just a whole bunch of guys know in general, I'm a free agent. I don't have any affiliations with anybody particular. I build my own chassis for me and a couple buddies. I have no sponsors. I drop all my sponsorships. I run Futaba radios. I run what the products I run because I choose to, not because of some contract. And I drop them all for the sake of, I want people to understand that if I'm going to say, hey, this is what I'm using, this is what I recommend, I want people to know that this is actually my pure support, not based off some paycheck or something else coming along. But with that is I have a lot of knowledge, I have a lot of experience in industry, and so I've been reached out to by a lot of different companies about doing stuff with them and for them, and trying to figure out my next move. I'm at this like crossroads right now where I don't know what direction everything's going. A couple of the things I had that were lined up, and I've been kind of waiting on them to happen, just haven't happened. So I basically reached out to one of the companies and said, you know what, if this isn't going to happen, if you guys aren't going to make this happen, I'm going to take my name out of the hat so that I'm not just left here waiting and waiting and waiting. And so there's opportunity out there for me to go do different things with different people in industry or also in the motorsports industry, being here in Mooresville. And so I don't know what direction my future's taking me. I just want people to know that it's going to have to be something I'm passionate about, something I can do that's going to make a difference for me. If I go work for a NASCAR team, that's going to change up my whole shtick basically. So I wouldn't be racing near as much. I'd be on the road 40 something weeks a year, doing the racing deal. But I think that can be very fulfilling from the viewpoint of winning as a team kind of deal. So helping the team, helping make a race team do better, or at least to strive to compete as a team. I think it'd be something that'd be real special for me. I learned a long time ago that anything I have my hands on that can win a race is equally as important to me as me winning a race myself, if not even better, because now I get to experience it and celebrate it with so many more people. I'm a true believer that life is about people. It's about relationships, and the better relationships you have, the more stronger you build them, the better your life's going to be more fulfilling. And if I can win with people I care about, I absolutely want to do it all day, every day. And it doesn't ever have to be me. And that's the number one thing that number one advice I can give to anybody is celebrate everybody around you for everything positive that they do and be that guy. I want to be everybody's cheerleader. And one thing I kind of I saw a quote about 15 years ago, and it kind of made me look around me and see what was out there. And it said, pay more attention to your friends that don't cheer when you win." And that was deep because there was a lot of guys in my circle behind me that didn't want to see me win. And I was like, "Okay, that's a pretty deep thought." And I've taken that and changed who I am and how I look at things based on wanting to be better than that. I wanna be that guy that celebrates everybody's win. I wanna be that guy that looks you in the eye and truly, truly feels for you when you have a bad day or have a great day. I wanna be equally supporting you on both of those days, and that's the person I wanna be, and it's not an overnight thing where to get yourself there, but if you commit to it and you work towards it, it's easy to do.
Fantastic. Well, Matt, I'll tell you what, man. I think at the beginning of this episode, one of the first comments that I know that I personally made was, or I asked you, "Do you feel like you're misunderstood?" I know from this side of the camera, I wasn't sure the guy that I was going to get when we started this interview, but I can promise you one thing: from my side, you were misunderstood for me, and I have absolutely nothing but the most amount of respect a guy can have for you. I think you're a badass guy, and I couldn't love your attitude towards our hobby any literally to the maximum degree that I do right now. So you are a stand up dude. I can't wait to meet you and shake your hand. I hope that I can come down and support your racetrack someday. And I am so appreciative of your time and your attitude towards not only RC racing but life, man. You're an inspiration to me, and I think there's a lot of other people that are going to appreciate listening to this episode.
Well, thanks, man. You just gave me goosebumps all over. Like I said it before, but man, if anything that can make you feel a certain way about it, it means you're passionate enough about it to really matter. And RC has been that for me. If I go through my phone book right now, 99% of all names in my phone book are RC related people. And unfortunately, and this is one thing I want to touch on before I go, you never know the last time you're going to sit next to somebody in the pit area or line up next to somebody on the driver's stand. I've got about 40 buddies in here who have passed away in the last 6 or 7 years, and I'll never delete their numbers from my phone. But please, guys, just live in the moment. Understand that you're there for a reason, and the reason you're there at a race isn't necessarily the race; it's for the camaraderie and the brotherhood, and it's the moments with your friends, and those are the things that really matter. Um, winning races is cool, but going out to dinner with your buddies after a race, it's 3 times better, man. I'm telling you what, right now, that's where it's all at. That's the secret space I found in RC is it's all about the people, and you put the right people around you, and you have a good time with it, and you live in the moment. You can't fail.
It's not about who you're on the podium with; it's about who you go to dinner with after the race.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Absolutely, man. All right, dude. That's the Murf Dog, everybody. Matt, I appreciate you, man. This has been the Scale Labs RC podcast, and I'll get out of here as long as you promise to come on again, Matt.
I promise I'll come on again.
Cool. All righty. Thank you guys for listening. This has been another episode, and we will see you guys in the next one.